Every year, thousands of people vanish without a trace. Some are never found, others return, but they're not the same. What if I told you, long before the words alien abduction even existed, a young man in Brazil told the world a story no one wanted to hear? And what if that story wasn't just strange, but monstrous? He said he was taken, examined, and used by something not of this earth. But it wasn't lights in the sky. It wasn't a peaceful message from space. It was cold, surgical, deliberate, and what they took from him, they may have passed on to something that now walks among us. Welcome to Unsolved Web. Tonight's story, the alien hybridization experiment, the first abduction story. Antonio Villas Boas, 1957, Brazil. A true encounter so bizarre you'll wish it wasn't real. Chapter 1, a night like any other, until the sky bled red. October 15, 1957, São Francisco de Sales. Brazil was still decades away from modern technology. No cell phones, no internet, no Roswell documentaries. The world was still innocent to the idea that something or someone might be watching us. Antonio Villas Boas was a 23-year-old farmer, quiet, honest, focused on the land, not the stars. But that night, everything changed. He was working late, plowing beneath a moonless sky. The air was thick, silent. Not even the insects dared sing. Then, in the stillness, a red light appeared above him. Not a star, not a plane. It moved like it had a mind of its own. Chapter 2. The encounter begins. The light grew larger. Then it landed, softly, as if the earth had agreed to let it in. Antonio ran, but his tractor died. His body felt heavy, and then the beings came. 4 small beings, about 5 feet tall, encased in metallic suits with breathing tubes. Their movements? Not human, but they had small blue eyes. Their voices? Clicks and growls. Their hands? Clawed. They grabbed him, dragged him through a hatch and into a chamber that reeked of metal and ozone. He was disrobed by force, covered in a slick, burning gel. His chin was pierced by a suction device that drank his blood and left a vivid bruise. Not fast, not clean. It wanted to consume him. And then, they left him there for what felt like hours. And what happened next was something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. There, alone, vulnerable, exposed, until she walked in through the sliding door. Chapter 3. The female being enters. She was almost human, tall, slender, skin like porcelain, pale and grayish-white, and unclothed. Eyes like blue glass, large and slanted on a small, narrow face, and hair long and platinum blonde. She was oddly beautiful. No words, no smile, and clinical, but her message was clear. Antonio described feeling an overwhelming compulsion, as if he were being mentally manipulated or drugged. They didn't just take from Antonio. He was used in a ritualistic experiment to reproduce, non-consensual breeding encounter, without passion, without words, and without pleasure, but with purpose. Her gaze locked on him, unblinking, inhuman, like a scientist watching a lab rat's reaction to stimulus. When it was over, she stood, rubbed her belly, pointed to the sky, and then pointed at him. The meaning? Crystal clear. You will father a child, but not on this earth. Chapter 4. Falling action. Though the ship had gone, his body burned, inside and out. Over the next few days, he developed radiation sickness, strange bruises, lesions that covered his body and glowed under blacklight, and dreams, so vivid they felt like memories. Doctors were baffled. How does a poor farmer who's never left the farmland contract radiation poisoning with no nuclear exposure? How do you explain the weakness, extreme fatigue, and the lesions, or the silence in his mind that wouldn't leave? Antonio told his story to journalists and investigators, not for fame, not for money, and never once did he change a word. He wasn't lying. He wasn't crazy. He was first. Yet they laughed, mocked him. But then, decades later, other victims began coming forward, with stories eerily like Antonio's. Breeding programs, hybrid children, cold, pale beings, watching silently, and they had never heard of him. Chapter 5. The investigation begins. But what came next only made the nightmare more real. A physician, a file, and symptoms not known to science, in a man who should have been dead. His name was Dr. Olavo Fontes, a respected physician. and a UFO researcher linked to APRO, the American Aerial Phenomena Research Organization. He examined Antonio, and what he found was more disturbing than fantasy. Nausea, intense headaches, vomiting, burning eyes, skin lesions that bled yellow fluid from wounds that were never inflicted, sensitivity to light, pain through every nerve ending, and exhaustion that could not be cured by rest. Fontes had seen sickness, but never radiation burns like this, in a man who'd never been near nuclear material. The diagnosis? Mild radiation poisoning, from an unknown source. Chapter 6. The lesions that shouldn't exist. Terry Melanson, a UFO historian, later described them in grotesque detail. Small reddish nodules, hard, painful, each with a tiny orifice, secreting thin yellow liquid, glowing under black light. In addition to his observations, Melanson described the skin around the wounds as having a violet-tinged hue, known as hyperpigmentation. Some wounds glowed under black light after performing UV exposure tests, and the lesions kept appearing for months. They appeared randomly, sometimes without bruises, without cause, and again they lingered for months, as if something had been left inside him. Chapter 7. The story breaks. Antonio never chased fame. He wasn't selling books. He wasn't giving speeches. He simply answered a newspaper ad by a journalist named Jose Martins, looking for anyone with UFO experiences. Martins heard Antonio's account and was horrified. He immediately contacted Dr. Fontes. The earliest records appeared in 1958 and were later published in Brazil's SBESDV Bulletin by 1962. But something was already happening. Antonio's story had started to spread. Chapter 8. Vivid recall without hypnosis. He remembered everything. No hypnosis. Yes, that's right. Unlike later abductees like Betty and Barney Hill, Antonio didn't need hypnosis. He recalled every detail with unsettling clarity. The ship, the beings, the blood, the woman, the child. He was the first to describe aliens in helmets and suits, cold medical procedures, forced reproduction and physical violation, radiation illness. Years before the world had a name for it. All this years before these themes became common in abduction lore. Chapter 9. The attempted proof. Boas claimed that after the breeding encounter, they led him through the ship, like a prisoner being offered one final look from inside the vessel. He saw blinking lights, panels, tubes, and something that looked like a clock. He tried to take it, to prove this was real, but they stopped him, not with violence, with knowledge. They knew what he was thinking before he even acted. Chapter 10. The lawyer who never let go. Antonio Villas Boas went on to become a lawyer. He married, had 4 children, lived a full life. But he never once changed a word of his testimony. Not under ridicule, not under pressure, not even on his deathbed in 1991. Though some may argue Boas expired in 1992, this is false. He never made money, never sought attention, and never asked to be believed. But he remembered every single second. Chapter 11. The doubts and the missing child. Some skeptics, like Peter Rogerson, suggest a similar abduction story appeared in the Brazilian magazine O Cruzeiro in November 1957, published just 1 month earlier. Rogerson argues Antonio copied parts of this story from the magazine article and from contactee stories like George Adamski's. A coincidence or a blueprint? But there's no proof he ever read any of it. And his symptoms? Documented. His blood? Drawn. His lesions? Observed. His trauma? Real. All this in deep detail, making the hoax theory hard to sustain fully. So, if he was telling the truth, then somewhere out there, his child may be walking among us. Half human, half something else, but not fully alien. Born from one dark night in Brazil. And if they took him, who will they take next? Let's not forget, no other abductee remembered this much. No other case had medical records this strange, and no other man believed he had fathered a child in space. one who was not born here, one who may still be watching. So remember, if he told the truth, then that child may walk among us, not human, not alien, but born from the stars, and one lonely man in a field. Thanks for watching Unsolved Web. If this story twisted your thoughts, there's more where that came from. Subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a comment if you still believe you're alone. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and your door locked at night.